The shout came first, sharp like a cutlass on dry bamboo. "Behold, the Virgin is with child!" The corridor of St. Raphael Clinic went silent, then broke into whispers that sounded like rain on a zinc roof. Elder Obinna stiffened. Mama Nkem's wrapper loosened as she reached for a chair and missed. Chinwe stood like a palm tree in Harmattan, eyes wide, hands shaking, saying, "I did not lie with a man." Yet the test lay on the metal tray, bright and bold, carrying news that refused to bend. Nurses paused. A cleaner peeped. In Umuoma, news travels faster than motorcycles. Before sunset, the market women would say the story with pepper and salt, and the boys would laugh with teeth that knew no mercy. But the hallway kept echoing one thing. A child was growing where no man had been welcomed. That was the hook that gripped the town by the throat, and it would not let go, because it tasted like mystery and smelled like scandal. And in a small town, those two are meat for many mouths. Chinwe Obianuju Okorie did not grow up in a careless house. Elder Obinna kept record books for the church and for his home. Money had envelopes, chores had times, words had borders. Mama Nkem's knees were as famous as her soups because both were used daily. She prayed before dawn. She prayed at noon. She prayed when the crickets tuned their violins. From childhood, Chinwe learned 3 clear rules: talk little, pray much, walk straight. Her Bible had thumb marks like a farmer's hoe, yet school was a different world. Some girls laughed and called her Virgin Mary of Umuoma. Some boys whistled and said, "Too holy for husband." She answered few words. She faced her books. A proverb her father loved said, "The goat that keeps to the middle of the road does not fear the bush." But another proverb is true also. Even a straight broom can gather dust. Chinwe kept her body, her tongue, and her path. She wore long skirts and simple blouses. She came home after classes. She was light, but that light sometimes drew moths who had no business near a flame. When WAEC ended, she joined a lesson center near the market square. The tutor was a young man from Ibadan, Mr. Damilare Dami Falana. He smiled with his eyes and counted with chalk that danced. He explained mathematics like storytelling. He called attention without raising his voice. Students liked him. Mothers praised him. He often said, "You can do hard things with simple steps." Chinwe liked simple steps. She liked how he noticed her neat notes. She liked how he said, "Well done, Miss Okori." It sounded like a small drum only she could hear. A daisy smirked and poked her arm. "See you, holy girl. Now you are looking." Chinwe looked away. But the heart is a village road. If many feet pass, the path widens. Mr. Dami sometimes asked her to stay back for extra review. It felt harmless. It looked harmless. People passed the open door and saw a teacher and a student. But closeness grows the way a creeping plant grows. Today a leaf, tomorrow the wall is green. One Saturday, the class ended early and the sun lazed in the sky like a cat. Mr. Dami asked if she could help sort practice sheets at his little rented flat behind the tailor's shop. He laughed and said, "2 eyes check better than one." She followed because it sounded like service. The room was tidy, a single chair, a small shelf, a curtain dancing with the lazy fan. They talked about universities, study plans, and big dreams with small money. He poured malt into 2 cups. She tasted and felt brave, the way good students feel when praised. He did not move fast. He moved like someone tracing a pattern he had practiced before. A hand on her shoulder became a hand on her palm. Words became quiet. She said, "I cannot," and meant it. He said, "I understand," and said it softly. They did not cross the line she feared. But they stood too near the line, long enough for carelessness to find a crack. Later she would remember a moment in the small bathroom. A careless touch, laughter, shy wiping of hands, a door half open, and the kind of heat that fogs wisdom. There is a saying in Umuoma, Fire does not need to lie in the mat to burn it. Standing under is enough. Days passed. She prayed as usual. She studied as usual. She avoided the flat. He sent notes with assignments and a smiley face that looked like a secret. She tried to shrink the memory and throw it into a dry well. Weeks later, morning met her with a stomach that turned like a grinding stone. Mama Nkem said, "It is malaria," and tied her scarf tighter. She boiled bitter herbs. She hummed psalm tunes. But vomiting returned like stubborn debt. The smell of oil sent Chinwe running. Sleep became shallow. Fear became loud. Her menses went missing like a goat at dusk. She counted days. She counted again. She prayed, "Lord, let it be stress." The day they walked into St. Raphael, the waiting room had posters about life and none about shame. Dr. Halima Yusuf asked clear questions and ordered a test. Chinwe stared at the wall clock and wished time would break. The strip on the tray did not bargain. It announced. The doctor spoke as if placing a stone carefully. "You are pregnant." Mama Nkem sat, then slid, then lay, as if her bones remembered dust. Elder Obinna stared at the calendar like a man reading a map and finding no road. Chinwe burst like rain on a tin roof. "I have not slept with a man. God sees me. I have not." The nurse looked at the floor. The doctor held her ground. "Pregnancy is pregnancy. We will do an ultrasound to date it. You need calm. You need support." The word support sounded like a joke in that room. In Umuoma, news grows legs faster than truth grows teeth. Before they reached the gate, 2 women had already slowed their steps to hear more. By sunset, Mama Ifunanya would season it, and by night, boys at the junction would serve it hot. Yet in that hour, one thing refused to bend. A child had started a journey inside a girl who said no. Home became a courtroom without a judge. Elder Obinna paced like a metronome. He said little. He breathed heavy. He whispered verses that sounded like stones. Mama Nkem cried and prayed until her voice became threadbare. She spread wrappers on the floor and beat it with her palm. "God, shame has entered our door. Close it, Pastor Ezenwa came at dusk." He greeted, sat, and listened more than he spoke. "Sometimes," he said slowly, "light exposes what darkness planted. We will seek truth. We will seek mercy. The well that gives water does not stop being a well because a leaf fell in it." That night, Chinwe lay awake and counted the lines on the ceiling. Every line looked like a path to a question. How? The answer waited like harmattan in the bones. She thought of Dami's flat. She thought of a door, a laugh, a careless hand, a tissue thrown aside, a skirt lifted only a little for a moment that did not feel like sin but was not wisdom. Morning brought visitors like ants to sugar. Some knocked. Some stood outside and whispered like rustling leaves. Adayeze came with wide eyes, mouth ready, then saw Chinwe's swollen grief and closed it. "I came to greet," she mumbled, and left a basket of oranges. Baba Chukwudi, who collects proverbs like a trader collects coins, said, "When a child washes her hands, she dines with elders. When a child warms her hands in strange fire, she smells like smoke." He meant well, but words can cut when a wound is fresh. Cousin Keen arrived from the next village. He had a steady face and slow speech. He asked, "Tell me everything. Do not skip the small parts. Small parts carry big answers," Chinwe told him the path of days. She named the room, the cup, the laugh, the door, the bathroom, the brief closeness, the firm no, the shy yes to holding, the silly joke, the wiping of hands, the quick return to scripts. She cried between sentences. Kana nodded, not to approve, but to show he was still there. "We will trace steps," he said. "Truth is a road. If we walk it, it leads us somewhere solid." He spoke with Dr. Halima. They agreed on an ultrasound. They marked dates. The little screen showed a small flicker. Life had raised a flag. The timing matched the week of that Saturday. Science, like a quiet witness, pointed without shouting. Chinwe trembled. "But I said no," she repeated, almost like a song. Dr. Halima did not scold. Sometimes, in rare cases, semen at the opening can travel. The body does not hold court. It follows laws we often do not respect because we do not know. It is not magic, and it is not immaculate. It is biology. The words landed like rain on hot ground, hissing, stilling dust, but not yet cooling shame. They left the clinic with more knowledge and more weight. Pastor Ezenwa called for a small meeting in the church office, not the big hall. "When a thorn enters the flesh," he said, "we do not bring the market to watch us pull it out." Present were Elder Obinna, Mama Nkem, Chinwe, and Mr. Damilaire, who arrived late, with cologne and a wary smile. He started with careful sentences. "I respect the family. I never forced her. We were close, yes, but it was not... we did not..." He trailed off. Chinwe looked at the tiled floor. Pastor asked him gently, "Did you handle yourself with wisdom?" Silence. Then a small shake of the head. "No, sir," Pastor asked. "Were there moments you touched and laughed and said, 'It is nothing'?" A slow nod. The room tightened. Elder Obinna's hand clenched. Mama Nkem wiped tears with the edge of her wrapper and whispered, "Jesus!" The air hung heavy with things people guessed and things they feared to say. Kana cleared his throat. He spoke like a patient mason. "On that day, did you go to the bathroom and clean yourself?" Dami's eyes flickered. "Yes." "Did you wash properly?" Pause. I used tissue. I did not wash immediately." "Did you return to the room where she sat?" "Yes." "Did you hold her again?" "Just a little." The room stopped breathing. Cain did not shout. He laid the bricks. "You played with fire and said it was only smoke." But embers jumped. Dami swallowed, and his charm fell like a cheap button. Chinwe's sob came gentle, almost calm, like someone who finally sees the snake under the leaf. Pastor bowed his head. "We are here now," he said. "The child is not a crime. The method was a sin against wisdom. We will make a path for repentance, protection, and healing." The town wanted drama. The town wanted a public hearing in the big hall with microphones and tears. Pastor chose a small path. He convened a council of 3 elders and 2 mothers. They listened to the clinic's report. They listened to Chinwe. They listened to Dami, who confessed to touching and coming near and to carelessness in the bathroom. They read 2 proverbs. "The lizard that falls from the tall iroko nods to itself," and "When a drum is beaten too close to the fire, the skin will tear." They also read a verse about mercy and a verse about responsibility. The council decided 3 things. Dami would be suspended from teaching and placed under discipline and mentorship. The family would receive support, not a parade of shame. The church would host a youth forum to teach plain things plainly, without fear or secrets. Some people grumbled. Some wanted spectacle. But the council closed the door gently and chose people over noise. At home, the storm moved inside the house. Elder Obinna struggled between anger and love. He wanted to shout, to throw, to ban, to roll back time. He also wanted to hold his child and undo her ache. 2 rivers met in one bed. He went to the veranda at night and stared at stars that refused to explain themselves. Mama Nkem knelt in the bedroom and prayed old prayers with new tears. She remembered her girl as a baby, as a toddler, as a reader of Psalms at age 9. She remembered teaching boundaries with soft stories instead of bold sentences. She wondered if softness had left cracks. She forgave herself and accused herself in the same breath. In the morning, they sat together. He said, "I am still your father." She said, "I am still your mother." Chinwe said, "I am still me." And that was the first small light after many heavy nights. Dami's friends advised him to run. "Travel to Lagos," they said. "Let it cool." He chose to stay because running wears the shape of guilt. He faced his own father on a video call and confessed. Shame is a teacher too, and it taught him to sit down. He wrote a letter to the Okori family. It did not beg to marry because marriage is not a bandage for broken wisdom. It begged for responsibility. It promised support. It accepted the church's discipline. He met with Pastor weekly to learn, unlearn, and relearn the simple lines that protect simple people. He returned to classes only as a student under watch, not as a master with chalk. Some mocked him. Some called him names that fit his carelessness. But he did not defend himself with words. He tried to defend the future with changed steps. The youth forum in the church hall was full. The girls sat together, the boys sat together. Parents stood at the back, pretending to check their phones, but listening like hunters in a forest. Dr. Halima came with diagrams that were simple and serious. She said, "Boundaries are not only about the final act. The body is not a puzzle you solve by finding loopholes. Biology is not shy. It obeys laws." She explained how closeness can plant seeds without crossing the obvious line. She said it without shame, without giggles, without whispering. Pastor spoke after her, slow and plain. "When the river overflows its banks, even the farm that did not plant rice will harvest wet ground." Murmurs rose, then fell. Some youths stared at the floor, some wiped eyes. Adeizi found Chinwe outside and hugged her. "I am sorry for my mouth," she said. "I thought teasing was cheap." It is expensive. Months passed like slow wheels. Chinwe's belly rose like a small moon. Market women greeted her with less spice in their voices. Mama Ifunanya brought Okpa one morning and said, "Your story has become our teacher." May God turn pepper into soup, elder. Obinna relaxed his shoulders. He smiled sometimes a little. He read aloud again in evening prayers. Mama Nkem sang while cutting vegetables. The house learned to breathe. Kani visited and told Chinwe, "You did not fall, you slipped near the edge. There is a difference, but both need careful feet after." They walked past the school gate one day, and she did not flinch. She looked at the lesson center and kept walking. Healing does not mean forgetting. Healing means remembering without drowning. One afternoon, Dami requested a meeting with the family. Not to twist arms, not to pose as savior, but to offer a path. He had found a teaching job far away, under supervision, and asked permission to send money every month and to visit with elders present when allowed. He brought receipts of payments he had already made at the clinic. He apologized to Mama Nkem for the river of tears. He apologized to Elder Obinna for the crack he helped open in the family wall. He apologized to Chinwe without asking for friendship. He said, "I will carry the weight I made." That is not heroism. That is duty. The family listened. They did not bless or curse. They accepted the support and kept the door on one hinge. Accountability. When labor came, it came like the first rain of the year. Sudden, loud, and then steady. The women gathered. They spoke gently. They told stories between the squeezing and the breathing. Baba Chukwudi paced outside and said quieter proverbs to himself, as if watering them. The baby arrived before sunrise, a girl who cried like a trumpet and then settled like a dove. Chinwe held her and smiled a tired smile. Mama Nkem kissed her forehead and said, "Welcome, Nwakaego. Child is greater than money." Elder Obinna stared and saw not a headline, but a person. He raised a soft prayer. The room felt warm, like yam on a coal stove. News again ran through Umuoma, but this time it ran with less heat and more light. Naming day drew the town in again. Some came to count faces. Some came to taste rice. Many came because joy pulls like a magnet. Pastor blessed the child. He blessed the mother. He blessed the father's hands to hold and provide, even from a distance, even under discipline. He blessed the town to use tongues for healing. He said, a proverb says, when the music changes, the dance must change also. We danced to rumor. Now let us dance to wisdom. Dami stood at the back, held the edge of his cap, and let tears make his eyes honest. Adaze carried the baby for a minute and whispered, you did not ask for any of this, small one. We will make this town kinder before you grow teeth. The tale traveled beyond Umuoma. It went to nearby towns, to school halls, to youth camps because it was simple and strong. It said, innocence is not only a bed you avoid, it is a fence you respect. It said, parents teach plain things plainly. Do not let the street be the only teacher. It said, children, honor your vows in big steps and small steps. It is the little closeness that opens the door where shame can enter. It said, rumor is sweet, but truth feeds longer. And it carried this closing line that sat well in both Bible study and biology class. What hides in darkness will stand in sunlight, and what you treat as play will show its teeth like a trapped animal. Guard your heart. Guard your hands. Guard your house. For a single careless moment can bend a lifetime, but careful steps, honest words, and shared wisdom can straighten the path again.